Alright guys, welcome back to the mini bike build series. In the last episode, I got this thing running. I tried to ride it. The idle was insanely high and I kept snapping the chain. Thought I was going to do a tensioner. In between these videos, I spent almost 10 hours trying to get this thing dialed in. I'm talking I swapped carburetors. I double, triple, quadruple checked wiring, put a bigger fuse in it, different battery, different stator. I tried everything that I could think of to make this thing run, and I just was not getting anywhere. So if you've seen multiple videos on the channel, you'll know I have a buddy, Ben. He's a wonderful human being. We've done a couple battles on the channel. If you don't have a buddy, Ben, get yourself a buddy, Ben. He came over and graciously donated a few hours of his time, and we got this thing pretty much ready to go. Problem was, brand new motor, starter was absolutely junk. That was one of the main problems there, and then the carburetor that I bought was not well enough for this, so did some research. I have a better carburetor. Thing fires up and runs. I'll show you the video if it's firing right now. And then I just took it for its first actual test ride, and I'll show you some of that now. We've got some really deep snow. I don't know if it's gonna want to ride out here very well, but let's try it. And that is where we are right now. We have a couple problems that we need to tinker with. And that was the whole reason why I wanted to ride the bike first before we carried out with more fabrication. Let me show you what we need to work on. One thing was I ended up putting a bigger sprocket here because the sprocket was just spinning. I had to retweak this again to get it better lined up. And this is the problem, I think. So this thing makes a heck of a noise when it's trying to accelerate, and I think because I can't get this thing to line up very well, I think that's the problem. So we're actually going to replace this with a roller. I think that's going to help, and I want to slide this thing up a little bit and really reinforce it because this thing was completely upright and it has bent, so I do think I need to add a little more support structure there. But I think after I do that, I got to add another spacer back here since I changed out this sprocket, and then I think we'll be dialed in. And with that being said, we have a lot of other fabrication to do. Like, my battery is actually duct taped to the frame right now. We need to do a lot of other fabrication. We're going to knock this all out in this video. Now, let's get dusty. I built this. Doesn't look like much, but it took me a while. We're going to put that where you probably can't see it, but we're going to put that back on the swing arm, and then that should replace that gear bearing. We'll get that welded in, and then I can move on. So I think that will be okay. So I actually just fired it up, tested it. This thing runs way smoother with that new bearing back here. And also the chain tensioner was getting tweaked and messed around. So I just added 3/16 steel to the back of that. This thing's about a 1/2 inch almost plate. So that's going to hopefully be a lot stronger. Anywho, the one thing that I hate the most about this bike at this very moment is the fact there's no kickstand. I have to have it up here or I have to lean against something, and it's just a pain in the butt. So the parts bike I had, I took this kickstand off that. We're just going to weld this under here. The problem is obviously it's going to be the wrong size because that other bike was way smaller. So I'm going to have to cut this to get this little foot off, extend this leg, and then yeah. So I'm going to put this on the ground to see how much I need to add to this. We'll do that. We're just going to spitball fire through a couple of these things here. So now what I need is I need a place for my feet to rest when I'm riding. Very simply going to take the foot pegs off the old mini bike. I'm going to chop up this bracket and then weld it somewhere around there. Very simple, very easy. Alright, so let's work on the battery box now. This thing needs to sit somewhere where it's not going to go. I'm going to try this. Never done this before where you just cut it out and then bend it. But we're going to try to make a box and a lid. So I'm going to cut all of this out, bend it, and hopefully that it fits in there. Alright, so this was the first box. Didn't fit. As typical, my fashion didn't fit. This is the second box. Much more prettier. And the battery fits inside it. And then this is the top that will go right on to it like so. And therefore this doesn't come out, but I can still reach the terminals. Okay? Now if you're looking at that one hole there, and you're looking at the slot here thinking, what's that for? Also, I drilled holes in the bottom in case it gets any water in it. But if you're wondering what these holes are for, simple. For mounting. How am I going to mount this, you just ask? Because normally we would just weld it on there, which might have to happen if this doesn't work. But I just bought this tool. It's a riv nut tool. So it's a riv nut, and then you rivet it into the metal, and you take your bolt, and your bolt then threads in. So therefore, ideally, I can take it off if need be. Definitely have to take the top off because, well, we have to change out the battery. So hopefully this works. We're going to try to get this aligned right, drill these holes, try these things. I've only put them in 2 things for tests. We'll test that, and then hopefully this works. Now that the battery box is installed and it's pretty secured, it does wiggle, but it'll be alright. I am going to put a little bit of rubber on the top and the bottom just for vibration. I'm going to do that on most of the joints here, on everything on the bike. Just thought I should say something because I've never said it yet. But now what we're going to do is we're going to move it downwards because I want to do a chain guard. Because I don't want to suck my foot into the jack shaft, because the jack shaft took me so long to make, I don't want to ruin it by getting my blood all over it. So I haven't decided exactly how we're going to do it yet, but we'll probably run it from this part of the chain cover and then a little bit back behind here. Everything else, fend for yourself at that point. So I think that'll be what we do next. I got to figure out exactly how I want to do it. I'm also going to cover up the jack shaft I spent so much time on, but we're back. I just came up with this idea. I'm not going to run this. I'm not going to want to cover all of this in case the chain pops off and I need to be able to adjust this and everything without taking the chain guard off. I'm trying to make everything as easy as possible for me in the future. So I'm just going to run the chain guard that's going to go over here, and it's going to cover most of up to here. But I'm going to run the chain guard this way and come up and butt up basically against that jack shaft. And then we'll mount it to the bottom plate here, and we'll mount it there. And then it should be sturdy enough. I'm going to try to implement it and get that grind in there, put it there. Make the plate here. You'll see. But we have a plan now, which is 3/8 of the battle. Okay, so this is the top plate. This will be the top view. This will be the front plate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to line this up just like this and make this bend to match this. And then I'll make the second bend here afterwards and then carry my way on. Because what I'm afraid of is like my battery box, I didn't leave myself enough material for this bend. So this is where we are at. This cut was terrible, so I put some new steel in there. We're going to recut it so it can look a little more betterer. But it slips in here. See, I got that radius to work pretty nicely. Tim, take a little closer look. So that looks pretty nice there. We're gonna have to do a tab up here to mount to the frame. And then again, this little tab down here will mount down here. But I gotta recut this right here to make this look way more prettier. And then do that, finalize that tab. Then just completely weld it up. Bam. Look at that. Boom. Bang. Boom. Pretty beautiful, right? That's sit right there. And that should protect me from getting annihilated by the chain. I'm going to put this thing on the same way that I did the battery box with the riv nuts. Should be plenty enough to hold. I'm going to do the riv nuts on everything that needs to come off because they're fantastic. Hold on with the B-roll. I realized I made a grave mistake after I finished that up. I realized that this spins in the jack shaft, so therefore I don't want to really clip my ankle on that, because I bet you that's what would happen. So made this little guy, look at that, like cornered out and everything, made it all like a bowl, so that will fit right on there. And then give that a little bit of space right there. So now I gotta weld that and then grind that all in so it looks pretty, but I think it'll look kind of cool having that little kick out if I can blend it nicely. But then I'll be completely 100% safe. Okay, I'm not one to toot my own horn here, but this is my first time ever doing like a kick out type thing with metal fab. Check this thing out. Look at this. Would you look at that? Would you just look at it? Look at that, there's clearance in there. Boom, boom. Bolts lined up. I know I'm really shaky with the camera. Boom, that thing right there. Oh, it turned out fantastic. I'm really happy with it. Do I think if I drop the bike or crash the bike, it's going to survive? I think I'll have to repair it. But now that that is done, and this is done, this is done, and this is done, I think we should work on brakes. It's not the most exciting, but I think it's what I should do because the last real metal fab I have to do, I'm really excited about. Stay tuned for that. So let's start working on getting this thing to be able to stop. So the problem is the brakes aren't going to be just as simple as I bolt on a caliper and then run the brake cable. Because you see, if you're looking at the tire here, you can almost kind of see it on camera. The tire is kind of not exactly as straight as I wanted it to be here. And when I was riding it, it kind of wanted to crab walk. Also, when the bike is all on its own weight, the chain is still very loose. So what I want to do is I want to slot this right here, which will allow me to then adjust the angle of the tire and pull back the tension in the chain. But doing that, then I'm not going to be able to mount the caliper to the rear swing arm, because then if I move that wheel back and forth, that caliper will stay in place. So I have to make that caliper be on the same type of movement pattern as that wheel is going to be. So I have the caliper from the parts bike right here. This hole right here will go through the axle, and then I'm gonna have to slot right here and then do some kind of like permanent bolt thing right in here that it will slide on, so that when the tire slides, the caliper can slide with it. I have to mount the caliper upside down because of the way that it moves here. In retrospect, there's a lot that I gotta do. It's not gonna be simple, easy. I gotta take this back wheel off, slot that out, and then fabricate that bracket. But that should help a lot with my tensioning issues and my alignment issues. And the more that I'm focusing on this, the more I'm questioning, am I building a mini bike, or am I building like a mini pit bike, or like a fat tire pit bike? Because when I was researching how to do this caliper so it could slide, I actually got the design idea from an actual dirt bike. So I don't know if this is even considered a mini bike anymore. It's got mini bike tires, a quad engine. It's going to have the rear swing arm based off of a dirt bike. I don't even know what we're building here. But let's start cutting up some more metal. And I forgot to tell you, so because this thing is going to slide, I want to be able to retrieve it, bring it back easily for alignment. So I made this right here, and I put a oversized nut right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go slide this through here. Again, this is what I came up with from a dirt bike. And then put a bolt or nut on the backside here, and that will allow me to slide this thing back and forth. And that'll help. I got one on each end. That should help me with the alignment. But now that we've got this, I've got both of them made. What I can then do is I can start working on that caliper bracket. So here is the caliper bracket slotted out. This is the plan. I got a carriage bolt. The carriage bolt has that square round edge right there, so it won't allow it to pull all the way through. Slide this through so it can slide on that square piece. Put it in this hole, slide this through, and this should allow this bracket with the axle under this hole, should allow this to slide with that. Hopefully this works, because that was a bit more. So let's put it back together and see if everything works. So now, in theory, what I just did, I should be able to tighten the bolts on the nuts on each side of the axle, and then it should help me get my alignment, and it should help me tighten my chain. Holy crap, I think that actually did just work. I watched the brake caliper bracket slide like it was supposed to. I watched the chain tensioner come up and get some tension on it. Chain's got a little more tension than what it did before, which is awesome. I think that actually worked. Oh crap. And then once you have it locked down, then I can tighten the axle nut. Dude, that actually like really worked. And then on this, I'll put locking nuts and washers and everything back here to help keep that thing locked in. But mostly what's going to keep the strength is it's going to be that axle bolt tighten should be all right. It looks like this thing needs to come that way a little bit more. All right, I got a new brake lever, new brake cable. Just a matter of feeding this all through now, and we should, in theory, have brakes. So the brake cable that I have is about 8 inches too short. Not a big deal, I have a new one on the way, but moving on. So I bought these fog lights here. I got 2 of them. One we're gonna mount in the absolute front. That way I will always be able to see where I'm going this way. And one on the handlebars where that way when I turn, it'll tell me where I'm going. But now we need to build some Wait, what's that behind your ear? Huh? What's that? Oh, you already made the brackets, you sly dogs. Yeah, I didn't feel like recording it because it's literally just cut, drill a hole, grind it, sand it, put a little weldy tab on it. So all we're going to do is now we're going to weld these here and here, and that'll do my mounting brackets for the lights. All right, now after literally months of drilling, welding, cutting, crying, grinding, bleeding, scraping, we are now at the point of the last bit of metal fabrication. And I mean, I do gotta weld on a little bit more supports for the wires, but I mean like fabrication wise, rear fender, and that's gonna be it. I'm not doing a front fender. Why? Well, because honestly, I don't think it really needs it. I think it looks sweet without it, and I'm already so financially invested in this that I don't want to spend extra money on the steel for that. But I do think that a rear fender is very necessary because I don't want to look like I have that sharp line up my back when I'm done running through mud puddles. So we're going to build ourselves a rear fender, right? Meow. So I will attach 2 brackets back here, and then I'll have a bracket that runs up here, one on the other side, and that will be what this attaches to. I'm curious if I can just set this in like this and then just bend it. Probably can't do that. So this is the part of the sheet metal work where I really don't know what to do because I want to put kind of a radius edge along here so it doesn't just look flat like I just, you know. And then I also need to obviously bend it. Bending it this way, the long way around the tire won't really be a problem. It's to trying to get this little radius. I don't want it to look like crap. I don't have all the right tools or the knowledge to do it. But we're going to try. I'm just going to beat it up on the vise. Bend it just a hair on the vise. Let's see where that gets us. I think I'm content with this. It doesn't look the greatest, but I think I'm content with it. But I don't want, see, like this right here, I don't want to put a support piece right here because I just think it would look like a lot going on over here. But on this side of the bike, there's not a lot going on. I think I'm going to do my mounting tabs back here. I also think to help structurally up here, if I take this, and then I scribe this angle into there, I could tack that on, and I then put another mounting plate back here, another mounting bolt there. I think that would be okay. It's not perfect. It's not perfect. But I'm happy enough with it. I think the first thing we need to do is build those 2 mounting tabs down here though. I think that's gonna be the first thing we need to do. Alright, so you can see I got these 2 mounts tacked in. They work. What I'd like to do is I'd like to then do that part right there, scribe it so that it will match the radius of the fender, tack that in. Then I'd like to be able to use the mounting spot off here, off the shock, to add another 3rd mount. Will I screw it up? Probably, but let's try that. Let's try that and we'll see where we get it. Yeah, so I wasn't recording when I was grinding, and I lit myself on fire again. So that's the second time in this video, in this series. It smells like burnt hair in here. I guess more of the story is I should definitely always record when I'm grinding. Hey, I lit myself on fire! Yay, high five! Kind of looks like I made a Freddy Krueger claw. But I didn't. That is going to be the support. Come on. So this attaches to the strut right there. And then I just got to weld it up just a little bit. Now we just tack weld this in. And I think we'll be good. It's not too bad. I knew that was going to add a lot of strength. I don't know if I need to add any more supports. I mean, back here, unless I do something all the way in the back, is going to have some play. Let's actually tighten up this sprocket, or the shock, and see. Yeah, I mean, unless I do something all the way in the back, this is always just going to have that normal play. It's not bending, really, until there. I say we leave it, and we call that a rear fender. Alright, I guess I'm going to finish welding that up. I'm going to pull this off and then finish welding that up. What did we learn in that ride? We learned multiple things. One, we learned that the other side of this bike, the foot peg, the spring doesn't work and it's annoying. We learned that the kickstand is just a little bit too long, so the littlest bump will send this thing collapsing on the other side. We learned that the brakes either need an adjustment or a lot of help because there are 0 brakes right now. I think it's just an adjustment though, I think. And mostly we learned that this chain will not stay on. So I got to figure that out. I think it's in the jack shaft. I don't know. I think it's an alignment issue. I don't know. The moment you let off the throttle, it hops off. So I don't know. I tried to get it as tight as I could. I'm not sure where that lies. We'll have to figure all that out. But we also learned this thing will rip like crazy because the moment that you're on that throttle, you're gone. So that's exciting. Really excited about that. But with that being said, that's going to wrap up this video. All the fabrication is complete. Next video, we'll get this thing dialed in. I'll start feeling comfortable with it to the point where we'll tear it down, paint it, and make it look pretty. But in the comment section below, let me know, is this still a mini bike? Is this like a fat, tired pit bike? What did I just build? So let me know, and I'll see you guys when we're finishing this up on the next video.